Big Johnson, 65-pound, 27-inch draw. Lots of good broadheads out there. If you want to go with like a fixed blade, I'd look at the QAD Exodus or like Muzzy Trocar. Slick Tricks are good. But you know, a good mechanical is going to be a lot more lethal. So lots of guys are really liking those Grim Reapers, like the Carna 4 or the Pro 3. Yo, I think we're up and good.
I think it's live right now.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, just want to roll into it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna roll into it.
Have fun.
All right.
All right, later.
Todd from across the border, what's up, man? Yeah, not a lot to do out there. Thought we'd throw up a live stream. I was advertising 6 o'clock, but got here a little early, so I decided to start a little bit early. Justin Phillips, torque tuning. You know, it's a pretty advanced method, and you really need a rest that has the adjustability to move forward and backwards from your shelf. You know, some pros do it. Lots of guys that shoot the Hoyts seem to think, like the Hoyt target model, seem to think that running that rest a little further back eliminates, you know, a miss with a little bit of torque. As far as limb driven versus cable driven, you know, the biggest reason you go with the limb driven is because it stays up for probably 6 or 7 times as long. The cable driven rest is going to drop in the first 5 inches, whereas the limb driven, depending on how you time it, you know, it can drop. It's going to stay up for 20 to 24 inches of that arrow before it falls. So you get a lot more support, thus more accuracy out of it. Big Johnson. I mean, there's a lot of good broadheads. I would look at like the Grim Reaper Carna 4 for an expandable, or like the QAD Exodus for a fixed blade. Benefits of the expandables are going to fly just like your field point. The Grim Reapers, I haven't seen them fail to open on anything. They're awesome heads. Big Johnson, I saw your question, dude. Sorry, there's a little bit of a delay here. Jim K, limb-driven rest going to the cable yoke. Do you think that causes any issues? I don't really think it causes any issues necessarily, but generally the yoke is going to move just as much as the limb. So other than eliminating some of the length of the cord, I don't really see any benefit or disadvantage to it. Todd Limburner, you can't find a consistent grip. Bows crossing my lifeline on my grip. Any advice? I mean, you just need to work on positioning that, you know. You can make like a little check mark with your hand, basically point your thumb towards the target. Bring these fingers down so they just touch the front of the riser, and then palm into the grip. Differences of the Ski Trinity versus hybrid target. Jesus Quezada. There's not a lot. The biggest thing with the Trinity is that it has a lot of versatility. I can make it a true blade style rest. I can make it a fall away rest. I can swap out a bunch of different launcher blades on it, which is nice. It has a little smoother. It's got a triple ball bearing, so the rest moves a little smoother, I think. But I haven't seen any big difference in accuracy, and the Trinity's a little bulkier. Big Johnson, yes, your speed is plenty for a mechanical. DDE keys, best vein for long range accuracy, mostly 3D, but some hunting and trying to change arrows between I mean, generally, you know, lower profile veins are going to be better for accuracy with field points. So like the Boning X veins or the AAE like hybrid 23s or the hybrid 2.0s or 1.85s, those are all good. Thoughts on day 6 arrows? Just bought 6 and I'm going to build when they come in. You know, they seem to be all right. Some of them don't, when you put them on the the straightener, they're not the 1,000th tolerance that they say. They're more like 6 or 7 on some of them, but that's not with every dozen that I've seen, so that's just my experience. Hamski versus SmackDown Pro Click, Josh single footer. Both are good. I haven't seen any failures with the Hamski. SmackDowns, so the Trophy Taker spring retention system is not as good. There's a little set screw that if it comes loose, your rest will not rise up. It's fixable, but it's annoying if it breaks. Do I knock tune with bare shafts or do it after fletching? I don't really knock tune. I have a spine finder, so that's basically what you're doing when you knock tune. But if I was going to knock tune, I'd do it with bare shafts. Inner fire outdoors. What is the recommended distance to paper tune from? So I always start at like 6 or 7 feet and work my way back to like 7 or 8 yards. Sometimes you'll get a bullet hole right off the bow, but then that arrow's actually kicking a little bit, and it hardly takes any adjustment in the rest or in your yokes or whatever it is to change it at 7 or 8 yards, so you won't even see a difference at like 6 feet. But I like to do it back to 7 or 8, maybe even 10 yards. Jordan Whipple, can't get the string to touch your nose without dipping down a long ways, but anchor feels good. Should I go for a longer draw length? Yes, I would probably go for a little bit longer draw length. Also, some really short bows, that string angle gets really steep, and that can affect that. If you lengthen your draw and your anchor is floating, you can try shortening up your loop a little bit or shortening your release, and that will fix that. Bradley French, am I still shooting the Traverse this year for hunting? Yes, sir. Love that bow. The Annihilator broadheads, any good? Smoke and mirrors, I have not played with them, so I don't have any feedback there, unfortunately. Jeff Hofstad, what is your recommendation for 2020 bow of the year? Now, I've not shot every bow. I've shot most of the big brands like, Bowtech, Matthews, Hoyt, PSE, Prime. I would say PSE made the best improvements, the most improvements. I think they're building probably the best bow they've ever built right now. But man, all those brands are going to be good in terms of like inherent accuracy and everything, so it's really going to come down to what's more comfortable for you. Darcy Giroux, what is my training regimen? What distance do I practice at the most? I live in Oregon, and it's rainy most of the winter here, so during the winter, I'm shooting 20 yards, sometimes 40 yards because we have a 40-yard indoor range here. Once it gets outdoor, I like shooting anywhere from 40 to 80 pretty consistently. WP Vince, the Hamski's cable is really loose at full draw. Is there a way to keep it somewhat taut at draw? No, because then if the string is tight, the rest is going to be down. So it's supposed to be loose and then tightens up when you shoot. Mark Anderson, keep getting a left knock tear and can't get a bullet hole. Should I check my yokes or just my rest? You yoke tune. So if you got split yokes, put a turn in your left yoke and out of your right yoke and see if that brings it in. You don't want to go too much with the yokes, but it's a good starting place. Joe Schroder with a really heavy arrow. Yeah, I'd go with either a 4 fletch in lower profile or a high profile 3 fletch. All right, questions are coming in fast, guys. I'm trying to stay up. If you do donate anything, even if it's just like 25 cents or $1, it will keep your question at the top and I'll be able to see it. Big Johnson, hunting with the Sweet Spot Pro. Thoughts on this? I think it'd be fine because it has the safety, so it won't go off on you too soon. Zane Hawkins, how do you turn the Hamski into a blade rest? You can lock the spring in an up position and then just put a blade on there. Only on the Trinity though, not on the hybrid. Ronald Calvert, when trying to get a bullet hole with bare shafts with the VXR28, would you swap out the hats before moving the rest? Yes, if it's a pretty substantial tear, if it's an inch or more, I'd get it as close as I can with the top hats, but a lot of times, if I'm only like an eighth of an inch or a quarter of an inch right or left with a bare shaft, even just changing one of the top hats will generally flip-flop it, and then I'll rip to the right, so I'll micro it with my rest if I'm really close. Alan Young, which portable target would you recommend with price not being an issue? I really like the targets that 365 Archery makes. They're awesome, super durable. They have all different sizes. Larry Frazier, you hunt with an index, but practice with a tension. Yeah, your point of impact is going to change because the way that string sits on your anchor point, basically, or on your face, is totally different. Your hand is turned out with a handheld release. Generally, that string sits a little further from your face, so it's totally normal that you're going to impact in a different place. Todd Limburner, colored bowstrings, are they good? So dye does weaken the string. But generally, it's like anything, most strings besides like the Gas Ghost or first string exit wire magnums, you're going to have that initial stretch. But generally, after, a few hundred or 1,000 arrows, that stretch will go away. And once you get it tuned up again, it should stay in place. What FOC do I generally like to see? Levi Morgan, who's 13-time world champion, IBO shooter of the year, all that. This whole FOC thing is not that big of a deal. He doesn't even know. But generally, when I get an arrow that's grouping really, really well, like I don't build an arrow to FOC. I find an arrow that shoots well with point weight and length. And generally, it turns out to be somewhere between like 11 and 15%. How do I recommend selecting the right sight tape for an Excel sight? Mikhail Renteria. I like to just put a piece of masking tape on and make all my own marks and then hold it up next to the sight tapes. I think that's easier than sticking and unsticking a bunch of different ones. Mark Anderson, thoughts on the Iron Will 100V series? Just set up my hunting bow and absolutely love them. Yeah, Iron Wills are amazing if you want to spend $200 for 6 broadheads, but they're great heads. Tyson Motts, no problem, dude. Donnie DeHart, anything to look out for when pressing a bow, looking to get an easy press. There are some bows that have really curled limbs, like they're way past parallel, and you have to get these special adapters, or you can either blow up the limb out. Like the Hoyt Defiance, you have to actually buy a special adapter for that. And then like the PSEs, they have these little clips that go on the end. On some of their older bows, like the X-Force, they got a little clip that goes on there on the end of your limbs, and then that attaches to the press. So it just depends on what bow you're doing. Andrew Tayson, thoughts on the True Ball Goat? I've played around with it. It's a really nice release. It's cool that you can go back and forth between a hinge and a thumb button on it in one release. So I like that. Gabriel Houston, thanks, dude. LVP Vince, I did not see your question about the bubble. Ask it again. Thoughts on toughest hunting arrows? Man, there's a lot of them out there. I mean, any carbon shafts are generally going to be pretty tough, especially if you put like a footer on them or something like that. But, I mean, Easton have always been good. Gold tips are tough. Black Eagles are tough. Smoke and Mirrors, opinion on Annihilator broadheads. I haven't ever played with them. Sorry guys, we're getting some buffering issues here. I apologize. I have not shot the new B3 Destruct broadheads. They're brand new. Haven't got them in yet. Man, I'm having some serious buffering issues. Sorry, guys. I don't know what's going on. Smoke and mirrors. I've said it a few times now. I've never played with the Annihilator broadheads. Trying to get this feed figured out here. Bear with me. I don't know. We have good internet here. I don't know why it's being so stinking slow right now. Lane Ogden not being able to get enough yardage out of your sight. So a lot of that is to do with, the speed of your bow and then your peep height. The distance from your peep to your shaft at full draw is what's going to determine how much sight or range you can get. So yeah, it's pretty normal. Ryan Toes, can you trust the spine line mark on VAP arrows, or I need to find the spine on each one? Yeah, they seem to be pretty accurate when I've tested them. Kara Whitmer, thoughts on ultraview? I like all their products. I actually just got the hinge sitting in my pocket right now. I'm going to be playing around with this. Derek Hillebach, tips on yard judging. Take your rangefinder out in the woods, look at a stump, judge it, range it, but generally what I like to do is count to the target. So if I can see the ground all the way to the target, I'll find what I think is the halfway point and judge to that, and then just double it. It's a lot easier to judge like 10 or 15 yards than 30 or 35 yards. If it's even further than that, I'll try and find the halfway point to the halfway point and then quadruple it. Best broadhead target. I really like Reinhardt's. I haven't used a lot of other ones though. John Rao, favorite thumb release. I like Stands. I like True Balls. Carter makes good ones. There's lots of good ones out there. It's gonna be whatever's comfortable for you. What is going on with this stream right now? Hang on just a sec, guys. Gosh dang it. Guys, I'm gonna try and mess with the video settings here.